Well, we've noticed it's that time of the year where we start seeing a lot of insect problems begin to show up around the garden, in the landscape, and even in the home. And a lot of these seasonal insect problems can cause damage, but they may come in cycles and in series. So this is Dr. Ken Pinkston. Hello, Ken. How are you doing?
How are you doing, Ray?
Ken is Extension Entomologist at OSU, and we've asked Ken to join us today and talk a little bit about these seasonal insects. You've been getting a lot of calls on them, I think.
Oh,
Ken.
yeah. It's that time of year.
Yeah.
Bugs are active.
Well, we'll look at some here in the garden and talk about some more. Ken, I noticed earlier when we were thinning our beets and our radishes and those types of crops, we seem to have quite a bit of little damage, like maybe on the flea beetle damage or something like that. Is that really beginning to show up this year?
Yes, it's that time of year. The little beetles are out and looking at the little shot holes there. You can see where they've been feeding and kind of looking like you hit it with a shotgun.
Yeah, we see some more down here on these.
Yeah.
And I've noticed on some of these, even when they're smaller, particularly our beets, they've really been hit.
Yeah.
Almost like they've just been completely sandblasted.
It's one of those type pests that is not going to normally cause serious damage or loss of production, as long as someone catches it quick enough that, you know, 7 dust or properly labeled spray would usually control this little beast. But one of those little nuisances of reddish raising or some of the greens.
And I also know that at this time of the year, it's the time that we really want to follow closely that home fruit spray schedule, because it's very important early on like this to get the spray on schedule, depending on the growth stage and the development of the fruit tree itself.
Yeah.
And there's some that you may not want to spray during full flower, some that you have to wait, and depending on it's an apple, pear, or peach, or whatever, we need to be sure to remind our viewers of that. And there is a home fruit spray schedule that has just come out available at the County Extension Office.
Yeah, that fact sheet for anybody with a little fruit tree or two in the backyard, they really ought to go by and pick that up, right? That would be a real added advantage to
and I know it's got really good
scheduling.
It's really got good photographs in that to kind of help people gauge when the right time is for that spray on.
Right, and I'd certainly encourage them to pick that up.
Ken, we know that there are a lot of things going on out there, and you've been talking to me about some of the calls that you've been getting on these insects, and particularly all the county extension offices as well. And the one that you mentioned that is kind of a concern, that is the cankerworm. Tell us about the spring cankerworm.
Well, eastern Oklahoma, I think we're seeing a phenomenon that's probably 10 or 12 year cycle maybe, that we have this little inchworm that drops down from as oaks are starting to leaf out, and a lot of other plant materials that very common if folks will think back of hitting trees with lawnmowers or shaking branches and seeing something drop down on a silken webbing. A weird little beast. Doesn't last too long as far as taking foliage off, but the phenomenon over in eastern Oklahoma right now is it's producing kind of copious quantities of the silk webbing, that kind of thing, and it's kind of eerie and it's causing some real concern, like, oh God, are they going to kill the trees and the plant materials? And in actuality, they'll feed a little while, probably 4 to 6 weeks, and they'll be gone. Okay. And in all likelihood, we won't see it again for a few years.
So how about termite swarming season?
That time of year, Ray, and the county offices from you know, Panhandle to Idabel, from Texas to Kansas border, we're having a lot of calls on termites just starting to swarm, and people very concerned about, oh God, I've got to make a decision right now. They're going to eat my house down, that kind of thing, as you might think, a little bit of panic. And just caution people to say, take your time, get 3 or 4 pest control firms out to make an inspection, see how serious the problem is, and you have time. They're not going to destroy your house overnight. We have a fact sheet on selecting a termite company or a company to help you control this activity, and they can look at that and if it takes them 2 or 3 months to get all the information, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
All right, Ken, another thing that, what if I'm out mowing my lawn and I see all these little mounds of dirt all over the lawn, and maybe even sometimes it looks like they've been piled up on the sidewalk in between the little cracks.
I think at least all the extension folks in horticulture and entomology and plant pathology on campus are well aware of this little thing going on right now, because ants / later in the season we have short-tailed crickets and a few critters that can cause, you know, piles of dirt or sod to pop up in turf areas. But one of the main phenomena that's going on right now basically is large populations of earthworms.
Oh, well, we like those in the garden.
Yeah, sure.
In the garden.
And everybody, they don't like the fact that they've kind of got this casting and the soil up on top of their grasses trying to green up right now, and they're confusing some of it with, they'll see a little ant activity, and then they'll think all of this is because of the ant. And then we've been looking at it pretty seriously even on campus, and we're going, duh, this is earthworm, and the casting's coming up, and dig down the soil a little bit, it answers the question.
But, well, Ken, what else are we seeing coming up? Elm leaf beetles, box elder bugs, there's lots of things.
A lot of critters that are starting to come out from overwintering sites, your attic, siding on your home, that kind of thing. And if you had those box elder bugs bothering you last fall, coming into your house, they're going to be coming out now. Elm leaf beetles do the same thing. A lot of the lady beetles will overwinter in, you know, it's not something you're going to want to be controlling, but if you're a housewife and there are insects and you're having a party, sometimes you just don't want anything crawling around inside your house. So.
Well, we'd just like to remind all of our viewers that it is that time of the year we're going to be seeing cycles of a lot of insects.
Sure.
Some are harmful, some are not. Some are just annoying, or else they pass on through and you kind of forget about them. But I guess the best piece of advice I would get, that is, if you have a concern, if you've got an insect problem, and you don't know exactly what it is or what to do with it, should it be controlled, then that's what our county extension offices are for. So, you know, pick up that phone or go down and visit the county extension office. It's located in every county, and usually in the county courthouse, and they're listed in the phone book. And if they can answer the question, which oftentimes and most times they can, then they call people like Ken Pinkston or someone else that can. So I just want to remind everyone that that's a good way to sometimes get these questions answered.
Certainly. And we look forward to trying to help them, and internet, emails to the county office call, we'll get it answered.
Well, Ken, it's nice to have you on the program. I think I'll go home and swat some more bumblebees.
I understand.
We hope you've enjoyed this classic from the Oklahoma Gardening Vault. Remember, even though these tips and techniques are timeless, there's always something new to learn in the world of gardening. By subscribing to both Oklahoma Gardening and OK Gardening Classics, you'll have access to a wealth of gardening knowledge, both classic and contemporary.